What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Rayge, and we are back today to unpack and showcase for you the gameplay footage for each of the nodes for Spotlight Raids 1.2, which is the highest difficulty right now in game. It took me quite some time to build up my Spire Society, but guys, this is a team that's been working for myself, including multiple attempts on some of the nodes. As you'll see in the gameplay, there is a bit of strategy involved. Now, maybe I'm missing some of the strategy. Let me know what you guys think in comments below, but this is what's worked for myself going through all three nodes for when I'm actually tackling on. So we'll go through quickly the upgrades respectively for each of these characters and then show you the gameplay footage for each of the respective nodes. Ghost Spider obviously receiving the bulk of the benefit here. The value she's had in past years in investment, it's great. Most folks should actually already have a 3 diamond on her. She's going to be a really pivotal piece to do a lot of the damage on team, especially with the way she retaliates. We got Spider-Man Noir value with Tangled Web, but love him getting reworked because now you can use him in obviously different team dynamics here. We have Peter B. Parker being the main healer. I haven't ranked him up because I want to showcase for you guys the power level before, just because in the gameplay footage, this was when he was at lower levels anyway. So just to be fair here, we have Penny Parker, and you can see here all the respective upgrades. And then lastly, we have Spider-Man Pav here, also dealing a lot of good damage here. But overall, guys, this has been the minimum of what's worked for myself because for the first 2 nodes anyways, you can actually use a lower level team. However, it's the boss node where there is more of a gear check, especially once you see the number of attacks and retaliation from the Iron Hearts. Something to be mindful of if you guys are building up this team. And this is what's worked for myself. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Let's get right to it, the gameplay footage. Okay, so this is the placement that I had, which is having Ghost Spider actually in the middle, and then typically I recommend having the weaker members of Spire Society actually on the corner. So I got Noir and Penny Parker. Now we want to start things off with that bleed on the left side, and then additionally you want to be focusing in on the Spider-Man 2099s down the middle, but be mindful of the fact that this team isn't great at stripping positives, but when they are, as you can see with the debuffs, it's really going to hit like a truck. Then you want to spread the blinds as I just showed there with Ghost Spider, and I just want to speed through the gameplay so that way you guys can see that it's actually not that bad. First node is actually the easiest here, and you can even do this node with a team that's only 1.1 or 1.2 million in total team power. After you clean that up there, I would recommend controlling the Cosmic Ghost Rider as shown on screen. That's going to prompt the next wave at 11 enemies, being the Firestar, Spider-Man Punk, and as well as additional star brands you have to deal with. Now the biggest thing with this is that they are tankier, but you want to be focusing once again on the Cosmic Ghost Riders, basically the synergies of the Out of Time, just because they have good damage, and if you can prevent them or blind them earlier on with debuffs, they're not going to be doing too much. And as you can see, Wong's likely going to get the taunt, so you have to focus on him, but that's okay. This team has really good crowd controlling aspects, and typically it's Pav or Peter B's special that is able to at least remove some of the positive buffs, such as taunt or any kind of favorability from their side. So after you get that through that taunting, it's about focusing on some of the key debuffs, and again channeling Ghost Spider's ultimate to spread it all across the board. You shouldn't have any issues with this first node. It's not even a gear check, it's more so just making sure that you control the right enemies and spreading the debuffs. And as you can see there, you're going to get to a point where there's blinds or stuns across the board, and it's basically smooth sailing at that point, and making sure that you watch the clock, because especially if you have this team, apologies there, I had my reminder clock there on. If you have the right debuffs and the amount of focus on characters, you should be able to blow past the first node. Next, we have the second node here, and I think the biggest issue is to be mindful in watching partially the new Avengers kind of set up in terms of their abilities, but as well Red Hulk. Many of these characters gain revives, right? Red Hulk's charges is what you want to watch for. This is going to be the first node where we are going to do a purposeful and intentional cancellation of the battle, because we want to either remove the charges or we want to prevent our team from getting absolutely wrecked. So at this point, you should get to another instance similar to the first node where you can spread out the debuffs. The exception obviously being ability block. It would have been nice to have a blind. There's definitely been some playthroughs where when I can land a blind and spread it, it increases the success rate of this node too. But overall, it's not too bad. As you can see, Red Hulk likely will get taken down, but he does have the revive, and then we're relying heavily on the damage from our side to retaliate and finish him off. When you see that they're getting way too many buffs, or maybe their Dormammu actually gets a chance to use his ultimate, We saw that we were going to see that big charge coming, so then we backed out, we went back in, and as you can see, by doing so, Red Hulk lost all the charges. So that's a really important thing to be mindful of. I didn't need to heal up my my Spider Society team going in, because you're going to likely get the first turn way before all of them, and all the energy generate back, which is absolutely massive. So activating Peter B's ultimate is going to heal you back up, and you're going to be in a great position to clean this up, especially with the cooldowns. And now Red Hulk getting taken care of. We're doing as much damage as we can now, and I think the part 2 issue of this node is going to be the Novas when they spawn, because they have big specials and big ultimate abilities that can hurt. There's also another Red Hulk that does spawn actually in the second wave. So this is what I was talking about. If Dormammu activates his ultimate, it's going to be trickier to get through this node. You can choose to truck through it, you can give it a shot, but if you find that you're having too much issues, like for example, this one was a bad run for me because they spawned and then Dormammu activated his ultimate right here. I was purposely trying to see if I can get through the defenses, but you're going to see that I'm actually going to cancel out because it's just too hard. It's too much buffs to deal with, and we don't have the advantage of having all the turns already initially utilized in that first wave. So sometimes this node can take 2 attempts. If you're doing it strategically, sometimes it takes 3. In this case, it was a bad run because that wave spawned and then Dormammu activated his ultimate. So now we're going to come back again. This is what I mean. The refresh, they don't have any buffs. And this is ideally how I would have loved to start the second wave when they drop, but then Dormammu activating the ultimate definitely put a damper. So typically with this node, it takes me 2 tries, but in this case, in the gameplay, it was 3. But I wanted to at least showcase for you guys how it's whatever. It is what it is. It's an energy cost. You just back out, go back in, and not a big deal, especially since you're likely going to have more energy than you need anyways in Spotlight raids until the Alpha Flight section opens up. But even when Alpha Flight does come back out, there's only 3 more nodes that we need to complete, right? So this is at least a nice raid where we're probably going to have more energy than you need, and it gives us the opportunity to have these multiple attacks. Also, I feel like this was kind of partially designed like this because Spider Society getting all the energy when you back out, it's a really good strategy, especially if you guys have an undersized Spider Society. Mine's close to 1.5 million, 1.4 million. So obviously I have that, fortunate stat advantage. But if you guys don't, you can definitely get it done close to a subpar 1 million. So as long as you're taking advantage of, the failed attempts. And now we are just focusing and trying to do as much work as we can on these Novas after cleaning those debuffs up. But this node, you're not going to have an issue so as long as you're controlling and making sure that you back out when you need to, especially after the Red Hulks are taken care of. The Novas are just annoying. If you can finish off Dormammu, that's probably my next go-to tip, is like we should have aimed for him a lot sooner and try to target him as soon as possible. But because he got the Shroud, we kind of just ignored him and forgot about him until he activated the ultimate, which costed us pretty big. Easy cleanup here, guys. So finally, I am going to slow this down because this last and final node here, being the boss, is probably the hardest one. So I'm going to play at regular speed just to showcase for you guys the strategy. First and foremost, you do want to use the ultimate on the left side, doing as much work as you can. Val is an absolute must kill. You have to take her out. You also want to focus as much damage as you can on some of the tanking units like Starbrand, the zombie jugs. We also have to deal with aspects of Cabal in both we have Leader here and Iron Patriot. They're just all really annoying because they set up the stage here for another devastating wave. So that's why you're going to see here, I'm trying to capitalize and apply as much debuffs as possible. Thankfully, Penny can land some really decent bleeds there, as you can see. And as you can see, we're just spreading as much as we can here. We're spreading as much debuffs. Again, ideally, if there was a blind, it would be ideal. Sometimes I've gotten it, sometimes I haven't, but that's okay. You don't need it. The debuffs is what you really need for that advantage of just being able to survive. But yeah, you'll find even with my team being at 1.5 million, guys, this is a gear check node. This is probably the one that you can't do if you do have a weaker Spider Society. That, or you may have to reattempt many times just to get the right RNG, but you may not have that energy in the future. So when you see that your team is like that weak and it's like one shot away from dying, that's when I would recommend backing out, and that's what I did right there. Now we're in a really good position. We're gonna get back all the energy here, and as you can see right here, we are up against this Ironheart wave now, and that's why we took an initial brunt of it, because you basically almost have to take it into 2 steps. Thankfully, I also healed up my characters before this as well. So you can see it's a straight up gear check because they're going to get their abilities off once again. And you can see my Noir went down, but I want to see if I can persist through now that we've actually taken the initial brunt of all the Iron Heart's damage. It's okay if you lose an ally or two here, so as long as you survive that onslaught, then you're going to be able to heal up, right? Especially if you're restarting like myself. Peter B is going to get his ultimate off. He's going to heal up the team, and really you just need to land one really good ultimate here from Ghost Spider, and it's going to do a lot of work. These Iron Hearts hit like a truck, but they're actually really squishy. So you can see that's exactly what we're doing. Activating the ultimate, the debuffs are going to take advantage now. And again, I think this one in a funny way is actually easier than the second node, depending on how the abilities are played out, because typically this usually takes me a 2-shot versus, you know, the second node, which can be more RNG driven based on Dormammu and how you target. And again, all this can change as well if you are landing a blind consistently, where, you know, that could be, you know, based off of the focus and resistance checks, but it is what it is. Our characters are going to be higher and higher as we can see here, but the only downside with this team is that, as I showed earlier on screen, you know, the majority of the characters were gear tier 17, with the exception of Ghost Spider and Noir being gear tier 18. So just something you got to be mindful of in terms of leveling. This has definitely been ramping up a little bit more in terms of resources, but thankfully this is what you can use in terms of cleaning up. So let me know, guys, if I'm maybe following a strategy wrong or something, but this has worked for me consistently. Typically it takes me about 5 or 6 attacks to get through the entire Spire Society, right? Usually it's 1 attempt on node 1, 2 attacks on node 2, and then finally definitely 2 attacks on the last node. So usually 5 attacks, but if you push up your Spire Society team higher, I'm sure they can go through it or even potentially sim it. So there you guys have it. Spotlight Raids 1.2, Spire Society section using this team. Thank you for your time as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.